Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the economic history of past technological revolutions to figure out the real-world trajectory of today's massive AI boom. We hear so much hype about the future of AI, but to truly understand where we're going, we've got to look at where we've been.
Okay, let's start by looking at the totally unprecedented and honestly kind of apocalyptic way Silicon Valley is selling this stuff. The pitch we're hearing from tech leaders is essentially, hey, best case, it takes your job. Worst case, it literally kills you, but please don't regulate us. It's wild, right? This is radically different from how any other innovation has been introduced. Usually, creators are selling us on the sunny, utopian benefits, not existential dread.
So this brings us to a really fascinating question, and this is based on some rigorous research by Oxford economist Carl Benedikt Frey. If we strip away all that dramatic doomsday hype and just look closely at the history of industrialization, what's really happening? Are we actually heading toward a massive long-term economic boom, or are we just puffing up a short-lived bubble?
Well, history really grounds our expectations here. It shows us that major innovations almost always suffer from a productivity delay. Think about it. It took roughly 40 decades for the steam engine to actually show up as a major productivity gain in the British economy, and another 40 years for electricity to do the exact same thing. Even the personal computer didn't create a visible economic upsurge into the late 1990s. So expecting AI to just instantly transform global economic output overnight, that goes completely against historical precedent.
Section 1. The infrastructure gamble.
Think about historical infrastructure for a second. Highways, railroads, power grids. They were built for technologies that were already relatively mature, or at least well understood scientifically. But compare that to right now. We're pouring absolutely unimaginable sums of money into infrastructure for AI, specifically large language models, before we even know if they're the final victorious format of this tech. What if the future is smaller models, or world models? It's a massive leap of faith.
The crucial point to understand is that right now, AI is just incredibly data-hungry and, frankly, compute inefficient. In fact, human brains are much more compute efficient than AI today. It's very much like early steam engines, which were super inefficient and mostly just clumsily drained coal mines. It wasn't until James Watt invented the separate condenser that the steam engine truly took off. With AI, we might be overbuilding massive data centers before someone actually invents AI's equivalent of the James Watt condenser, the breakthrough that truly unlocks its potential.
Section 2. Automation versus breakthrough innovation.
If we look back at true economic breakthroughs, they don't just speed up old tasks. They create entirely new worlds. The automobile didn't just give us a faster horse. It gave us road commerce, suburbs, mass tourism, and massive new supply chains. Right now, AI is largely acting as a continuation of the computer revolution, mostly focused on automating existing cognitive processes. But if all we do is use it to automate old processes, essentially just digging holes faster, we're going to miss out on the completely new consumer products in industries that define true revolutions.
Section 3. The business dynamism paradox. This brings us to a massive economic mystery. We're seeing a profound paradox right now. On one hand, things like computers, the cloud, and AI have made it cheaper than ever in human history to launch a startup and test a new idea. You'd think new business entry would be going through the roof, right? But on the other hand, overall business dynamism and the actual creation of new firms are in a steady, documented decline. There's clearly a heavy countervailing force offsetting these incredibly cheap digital tools. And here's one of the biggest culprits suppressing that dynamism, a practice known as killer acquisitions. This is basically when huge incumbent companies buy up promising startups specifically to shut them down and eliminate future competition. Couple that with corporate lobbying, which has doubled since the 90s, and a patent system where digital tech patents are poorly defined and wildly expensive to litigate, and you've created massive, almost impenetrable barriers for the new, small entrants who usually drive true product innovation.
Section 4. Research quantity versus quality.
Let's pivot and look at the world of academia. With AI drastically reducing the time it takes to draft, verify, and publish academic papers, we have to ask a really hard question. Is this incredible efficiency actually leading to better scientific breakthroughs, or is it just creating more noise?
Well, unfortunately, because academia operates heavily on a publish or perish incentive structure, researchers are using these new AI tools to take on more and more projects simultaneously. But studies actually show that the more things humans try to juggle at once, the less likely they are to make a profound breakthrough. So AI is mostly just supercharging the sheer quantity of papers produced. It's spreading human attention dangerously thin and potentially diluting genuine scientific quality. Again, we're digging more holes rather than digging deeper. Section 5. Offshoring and Entry-Level Risks. Now let's examine exactly how this technology threatens the modern workforce. Consider the GPS effect. Before GPS, knowing the winding streets of London or Toronto was a valuable protected skill for local taxi drivers. GPS destroyed that barrier, basically allowing anyone to drive for Uber locally. Today, AI, especially when coupled with real-time machine translation, is doing the exact same thing to knowledge work. It erodes the language and skill barriers that previously protected white-collar workers in developed nations, pitting local grads directly against highly capable but much cheaper overseas talent.
Let's walk through how this actually plays out on the ground. Step 1. AI acts as a great equalizer for novice or lower-skilled workers, bridging that productivity gap. Step 2. Companies suddenly realize they can get the same AI-assisted output from a worker in Manila or Mumbai as they can from a recent grad in Toronto, but at a fraction of the cost, so they offshore that entry-level work. Step 3. The domestic entry-level pipeline gets completely hollowed out. In this way, AI essentially acts as the ultimate offshoring engine. And this leads to a massive structural problem. Business leaders will very soon face a harsh reality. Senior roles, which require real-world experience, complex leadership, and adapting to novel situations, are much harder for AI to do. You might gain some short-term efficiency by automating or offshoring your junior roles today, but you risk entirely destroying the human talent pipeline required to cultivate your future senior management. I mean, you simply can't hire a senior VP 10 years from now if you never trained a junior analyst today.
Section 6. Looking forward.
As we pull all these historical clues together, how do we successfully navigate the shift? Well, historical analysis proves that empowering decentralized, localized decision-making is absolutely the most effective way to turn new technologies into organic breakthrough innovations. Think about the Soviet Union, the most centralized economy ever. If the central military rejected your idea, it died. Contrast that with the US breaking up the AT&T monopoly. That prevented a single boardroom from bottlenecking the early internet, which allowed businesses to organically figure out e-commerce. The exact same rule applies inside modern companies. Firms that give their local workers the autonomy to experiment with AI without needing to run up a massive chain of command are the ones that actually adapt and thrive.
Ultimately, whether AI becomes just a short-lived efficiency tool that automates our past to cut costs, or a true catalyst for a vibrant new economic era that invents our future, well, that depends entirely on the institutional choices we make today. Will we support new startups, protect our human talent pipelines, and decentralize innovation, or will we just dig the same holes faster? That is the billion-dollar question. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.